Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for spending your time with us and wanting to hear about AI. And so before we get to dive into the presentation, a little bit more about myself. I'm a husband and a father of three. I love artificial intelligence, data, and analytics. You can call me a nerd. That's okay. The two sports that I religiously watch are soccer and rugby, having played both of them for numerous years. And yes, as Emily stated, I was born and raised in France, moved here in the early 2000s, and then here we are. So a little bit more about my information's down below. Feel free to scan the QR code if you'd like to get in touch with me. So what's the agenda today? The agenda today is trying to address a need that a lot of organizations have, including ourselves, as there is a rising need for AI engineering. And so we're going to cover what we tackled together to bring our very smart folks up to speed on some of those technologies with some fun and engaging and collaborative efforts. So our agenda today, we will talk about the rising needs of AI engineers, our approach, which what we chose to be mini hackathons, mini building on success. We will touch base on what we have done internally to service and support our team and use that as a benchmark. We will talk about how we, before we got into the hackathon, provided a quick guide to get ready for what they're about to embark in. And then we will talk about the journey through the hackathon and some of the lesson learns. And last but not least, we will also recognize the state of rack solutions today. All right, let's dive in. Breaking news. Ron Burgundy thinks that AI is kind of a big deal. It's in high demand across many industries. AI is being incorporated into technology platforms as business operations in sectors such as tech, finance, healthcare, retail, manufacturing, all of the above. It has a widespread adoption and has led a significant increase in demand for AI engineers who can design, implement, and manage AI systems. Furthermore, the job growth and opportunity, if you look at the labor statistics, it is expected to rise by 23% by 2030. And a similar growth is expected for machine learning engineers as well. I think everybody here that are wanting to spend an hour or so to learn more about what goes on in AI know how rapid it is ascending. The emergence of AI engineering as a discipline. What's interesting is we've heard data engineering, we've heard evidently software engineering, we've heard ML engineering, and now recently we've heard this AI engineering, which is still kind of being defined as time progresses. But it more and more starts to converge with the software development's best practice. It is about taking what these AI solutions have been trained on, have been provisioned, and scalably just incepted inside those major cloud service providers, and build really cool solutions by taking and integrating with the rest of their existing platforms. So there's a lot of engineering and scalability to be thought about, and it's really neat to be part of this exciting wave. That being said, it is a challenge to hire these candidates and find ones that have experience in generative AI technologies. Really, this excitement was started with since November of 2022 when ChatGPT uh, came out. Since then, it has started such an uprise of what is this? What is AI? Oh my gosh, what can we do with it? So now here we are in mid 24, and we're having a challenge to, we know that there is a rise in AI engineering that's coming. So how do we address the needs that our organization have because our clients are asking for more AI solutions, and how do the rest of the organizations that want to build native platforms can address that need. So for that, what we thought to be cool is, since COVID and is kind of behind us, and we are starting to come back in the office more and more, what about a mini hackathon? We don't have necessarily to frame it in a way that this is this team versus the other, but let's create a hackathon theme to challenge ourselves. With that, this provides hands-on learning, rapid skill acquisition, team collaboration, and real-world application. Speaking of real world, what is going to be the theme of the hackathon with AI? Stepping back, shortly after ChatGPT was made public, a small group of improvers kind of got together and say, how can we leverage that and build a solution that can actually help our team? And so we shortly thereafter came up with what we call Improving Echo. It's a platform that is essentially is a RAG system, and I'll go over what a RAG is in a minute. But it allow our sales team being able to know what solutions we've provided in the past. A little bit about improving. We are an enterprise model, and we have grown through acquisitions. And one of the pain points that we've identified was how do we spread the good news of all the good things that we've built in the past? And so, with that in mind, it required someone from that enterprise to socialize what has been done before, or take those case studies and dump them into a repository, perhaps in SharePoint. And then you get limited by what you can ask, because what SharePoint does, and does very well, is keyword-based search. But what it doesn't necessarily resolve is all of the inferences that are made with the words that are within those documents. This is what a RAG offers. So let me dive in as to what the definition is. RAG, Retrieval-Augmented Generation, allowing users to question their knowledge base. So one might ask, okay, what's the difference with keyword-based search? The difference is that you can ask questions about the content of those documents. And if there is the word, let's just say AWS Comprehend, or an AWS partner, and we have built AWS Comprehend solutions, or build solutions around AWS Comprehend in the past. Well, AWS Comprehend, it understands natural language. But if we were to ask a question, what have we done with natural language-based services? The keyword base would not know anything about AWS Comprehend. In this case, it really helped our sales team being able to ask all kinds of questions around general content, and our tool is able to abstract the inferences about the text and generate a good answer. So since we had that in place, and that we really facing the challenge of wanting to hire more folks that were comfortable using generative AI technologies, what about growing our own? It has a lot of overlaps with software engineering. It's perhaps a little bit of a stretch to expose them and teach them what generative AI can and do well and not so well. and then see if we can build something similar to what we've already built, knowing that these software engineers will be coming in, these improvers coming in with the expectation of what to build. It's one thing to start with a new technology. It's another to know what that end solution looks like. In this case, we had that. Hence why we started building on our success and chose a rack solution to expose them to the technology. It served as a benchmark as well. We are hosting that in one of the main cloud service provider, and we wanted to see, using different technologies, more emerging technologies, see how it compared. The Gen AI space evolves so quickly that every single month there are new large language models or Gen AI models challenging each other. So since we had done it last year, what does this mean a year later to engage with new emerging technologies and see how it fares? We have a challenge. We've identified the challenge. We need to upskill some engineering through our hackathon. We've identified what we're going to use, what framework we're going to use through a hackathon, and over what content, which is a rack solution. So we had to talk about these things. What is a rack system in a little bit more details? And I'm going to put rapid in air quote, because there are definitely some homework that these engineers that you might have spotted in the pictures had to learn about. So let's just see. Let's start with the very beginning. First, RAG require a pre-production, meaning that there's some kind of ingestions of documents that are going to go somewhere. And then you've got your ongoing production environment, which is your users asking questions about that knowledge base and see how it can effectively retrieve that information, which leads to, what are the different artifacts that we need to think about at a high level? Well, the knowledge base, which in this case with a bunch of case studies, and so there are in PDF form. We understand that there is a retriever aspect of it, meaning that we're going to have somehow a functionality to retrieve information. But then once we retrieve that information, we need to read it and formulate some kind of answer back to our user. So what are the generative AI technologies? Something that they had to read about was embedding model and large language model. So the misnomer here is you hear a lot about large language model being getting all the credits. But in a RAG system, really the one doing a lot of work, specifically pre-production, is the embedding model. And so we'll talk about the process flow in there in a minute, and you'll see why it's important to understand what an embedding model does. What does it do? It takes text and it's going to convert it in a series of numbers. The series of number is going to be stored somewhere. We'll go over it in a minute. And when a question is being asked, it's going to take that question and also transform that into a series of number and then do that comparison. Let's dive in a little bit further. Those PDF files, we had to extract the text. So we created a pipeline that did that. Then what we had to do is chunked the text. What does this mean? So think of a 2-pager document. There are assumingly 5 paragraphs per page, summarizing to 10 paragraphs. But then if it's getting too long, if say this PDF files is 200 page, now you're dealing with a lot more paragraphs that you have to think of. And so the strategy that that we use is, and it's commonly used for development of rack system, is to chunk that data. So we take this document and then take bits at a time and make them small text that we're going to start loading into some database. To load it into the database, it needs to go through an embedding model and start being embedded to our vector database. Once that is done, and you have the user asking a query, asking about what have we done with company ABC? What have we done with this kind of technology? And so then the embedding model is going to embed that user query and it's going to do a similarity search to what is currently inside this vector space and extract this a set amount of a JSON file in this case. And the JSON file, as you can see over here, I'm going to use my little laser pointer here. You've got using the power of, which is the actual text of what's been stored inside the vector database. And then you see that vector embedding, which is a series of numbers that the embedding models leverages to make that proximity comparison. And once it feels like it gives a high probability as to what the user asked versus what is inside that database, then it gives this sense of confidence that it retrieved the accurate information. It doesn't always, it's not perfect, but it does a very good job. And then there's some more metadata that you can add as well. So once that is done, what do? We transform that as a post process in a context that we're going to leverage and pushed over to the as an LLM prompt. We're going to construct our LLM prompt. There's the concept of system-based prompt, meaning how do you train your system to act as? In this case, we want to be a helpful helper to retrieve good information, but not to make things up, because our sales team are depending on the accuracy of that system. And so if we say that we've worked with .NET in a past, but actually nowhere in that database it says .NET, well, we don't want to tell the salesperson that we have worked with .NET in the past. We've done plenty of .NET. It's just an example. And so in this case, we want to make sure that we are guardrailing the answers in ways that it doesn't hallucinate. It doesn't give the perception that this system is going to give a false answer. This LLM prompt, we're going to pass it to the LLM. So this LLM prompt is going to have all of that context, that series of retrievals, and then magically going to generate the answer. So really, all in all, in this system, the LLM is only used towards the end of that solution. And you can see that how important it is to have the embedding model in the pre-processing and also when the user actually sends that query. So I hope that makes sense. And it certainly was challenging for our software developer or improvers to kind of get an understanding of what that newness was about. But then surely, as we moved along and we gave further explanation, we really had something cooking here. Speaking of cooking, we are also treated with wonderful barbecue. Thank you, Tim. Thank you very much. So all of that effort of spending extra hours after work and getting to collaborate and spend time together and understanding that this is a challenge. This is a technology that they've never touched before. They might have used ChatGPT in the past, but not necessarily in an enterprise setting. And so we've learned a tremendous amount of things throughout. For example, you can never be too prepared. We've done one hackathon in our Atlanta office, and we've done one hackathon in Dallas, and there are more to come. But every single time, it feels like, okay, I think I'm ready. I think our improvers are ready to embark in this journey, and then there are just other new things coming up, and then they're like, oh, I didn't think about that. Didn't think about that. So as far as running a hackathon for the ones that have done it in the past, I'm sure you can relate. You have to embrace the uncertainty because uh, you don't necessarily know how much these improvers understood prior to these hackathons. Some of them were already playing with different tools. Others were more front-end specialists and knew a lot about all kinds of front-end frameworks, didn't really played with back-end based solution that was needed here for this rack system. So there's definitely some new things that we had to address, and so it was neat to kind of hit on all these points. Collaboration is awesome. It just is. Um, in the past 4 years or 4 years ago, we were stuck at home doing a lot of things with our families, but not necessarily with our colleagues. And these kinds of events have been so great just to um, see the improvers just embracing the technology and understanding, oh, okay, this is what it does. Um, and then exchanging ideas and how to make it better, how to make it better, faster. Speaking of faster, fail fast and learn faster, right? And so how do we get into a hackathon? This is a mini hackathon, so we had a set amount of time. And how do we ensure that we try to achieve all the goals that were set? And if not, it's okay. But you can still go home and finish your homework later, but walk away with something valuable out of this. And and so for that, we really focus on the MVP, what we needed to build, which was a front end interface that had a chatbot interface and could generate the question based on that knowledge base. And we did it. I'll show you a demo there in just a minute, but it was awesome to go through that. And finally, celebrate small wins. We are all facing challenges these days, and small wins definitely helps moving the needle. And so it was great to kind of be together and then just nerd out. Before I step into my demo, I will show there in just a minute. Let's talk about where RAG solutions are at. While we understand that improving Echo still has its place, organizations such as Glean, Amazon with Amazon Q Business, Microsoft with Microsoft Copilot are commoditizing the idea of being able to search through your knowledge base. And there's something to be said about, one versus the other, and we're happy to help you guide through it. And so the one of the big advantage of going with the out of the box is that there is a support system that exists with these companies. We also know how to navigate these technologies very well, and so we can definitely guide you and build solutions with those tools. Then on the custom software solution side, there's always a need for custom-based solutions, custom-based RAG solutions. One that jumps to mind is if you start integrating a RAG solutions with your existing product, this is where the custom actually makes sense. We're happy to, if you have any questions, if you have any need of being able to search through your knowledge base, we'd love to chat with you and guide you accordingly. So let's step out of the presentation and go through the demo. So in this case, while this is quick pointer, it says Azure OpenAI and AI search. We have actually used different technologies. This is a front end that we use for simplicity and providing something that's already existing in open source. But the technologies behind the scenes are using Grok with a Q. Grok with a Q is an upcoming company that have provided amazing technology for AI model inference. They run large language models very effectively, and we absolutely love the speed. Then, as far as the vector space, the vector database that we use Qdrant as an open source model, embedding model that is. And then as far as the large language model is concerned, that is ran on Grok, and I believe we're using Llama 3.0, at least at the time. That's now the 3.1 came out. But yeah, so in essence, that's pretty much the lay of the land from a technology standpoint. And what I love about it is a couple of things. I mentioned collaboration. I mentioned homework. What happened is within the hours that we had set during this mini hackathon, these teams just felt like they had to do something at home to kind of get it done, see it through. And this is what happened in this case. And so we went and built out this solution outside of our existing improving echo. And we built this out using, like I said, these open source technologies. And then the speed is quite impressive. So if I say something like, awesome, thank you. All right, so as an example, mobile technologies. And what I love about this is the speed at which it responded. It really, really fast. The retrieval of it, I've asked a general question around what, say, mobile solutions that we've built in the past, and we've worked with this company called Foosbee and have done many work. And so it formulated an answer around that. Let me shift gear and perhaps going live here with our, there is the ability to upload a file, and then it gets into your vector space, and you can start asking questions. I promise I have just uploaded this case study earlier for testing purposes. This is another file that I loaded. Maybe we got to see about if it can spell. There you go. Goodness. So you can see that it just pulled up that file. We can see it just like any rack solutions that you may have consumed in the past. Anywho, point being made is the coolness of setting a goal for a small team and getting this team to work with and being exposed to new technology. And by the time you walk out, you have a team that felt like they've accomplished something, they've learned something. And in this case, it's to address an existing need, the need to for this increasing demand that we're all facing. And one thing for sure, AI is here to stay. And I do anticipate that we will need more and more AI engineers for improving and for other organizations. And I thought that it would be neat to talk about our journey.